call the February Town Council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all our visitors here tonight. Thank you all for coming. We'll start with a prayer from Reverend Duck and Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Thank you,
Reverend
Mr.
Duck.
Mayor. Let us pray.
Thank you, sir.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for every blessing that you bestow upon us, and we know that, God, you are sovereign. You're in control of all things. But we also know tonight that you use us to make decisions, but we must seek your direction. We pray tonight that you will impress on the hearts and minds of each council member tonight as they consider each item on the agenda tonight, that they will make decisions that will be in a betterment for this community and for its citizens. And we thank you again for this day, for life, for your presence and your power and your goodness to us. All done in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Put the world off. I'm going to reserve to have my comments at the end of the night, please. Our first public appearance, we have Mr. Blair Smith from Dominion 7 Architects. Mr. Smith, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Town Council.
Got you.
So Terry asked me to come tonight to talk about a couple of things, talk about the process, talk about fee proposals, those types of things for the next step. So let's kind of talk about the process first. I realize that it's not very often that y'all go through this process, and so we're more than willing to help you walk through the process. It begins with procurement of professional services, and that's what architects tend to be, professional, hopefully. But it would also be true if you're hiring an accountant or an attorney. That tends to be what professional services are. So it's a 4-step process. First one is advertising for proposals from design professionals like ourselves. You did that back in December. It was advertised. They were due January 4th. And so you receive those. My understanding is you only got ours. Ours is the only one that you got. You may say, well, that's kind of surprising. This is a nice project. It's a sign of the times. It's a sign of how busy people are. It's just kind of the reality of the situation. Everybody I talk to that, other architects, everybody's busy. It's just one of those things. The next step is to review and rank the proposals. Obviously, when you only get one, doesn't take much effort to rank them, hopefully. But I believe on the 23rd of January, you authorized Terry to start negotiations with our firm. So that's kind of where we are at this point in time. I gave Terry a fee proposal on February 2nd. He gave that to you tonight. We'll talk about that in more detail in a little bit. From there, it's acceptance or rejection of the proposal by town council. And then the 4th step is to work out the agreement. It's not to say that y'all don't need to be involved with that, because you already would know what the number would be. It's really the fine tuning of that language, and that tends to happen between ourselves, town staff, and your town attorney. So that's the 4-step process. So what would we do during this if we're selected to move forward with this project? So this is probably where we excel more so than a lot of other people, because a lot of our clients are like you, they don't go through this process a lot. And so we're basically there to, you give us the ball, we're going to take it and run with it, okay? And so we'll be your representative through the design, through the bidding process, and through construction. We will develop the documents, and so I brought, you're familiar with drawings, and this is not your building, it's another one. But the other thing we'll do, we'll have the drawings, but we also have a project manual. And so the project manual has 2 things in it. It has all the bidding requirements that the town has. It also has all the specifications for the project. So you may say, well, what are the specifications? So if you looked at this room here, you'll see this room has carpet in it. And they could look at the floor plan and do a takeoff on how much carpet. The specifications tell you the quality of that carpet. But, it's interface XYZ, it may have a warranty attached to it. That's what the specifications would be. So the drawings are probably about 50 sheets, and the specifications will probably be 400 or 500 pages. So it's a pretty substantial set of documents. We'll use those documents to publicly bid the project. We would encourage you to use eVirginia. eVirginia is run by the state. It's just a matter of you posting your project there. We can help you with that. And then that gets the word out to not only general contractors, but to subcontractors and suppliers. And obviously, the general contractor is the one coordinating everything, but it's the subcontractors and suppliers that are going to really determine if the project is, affordable or not. So we'll do that. We'll lead a pre-bid meeting. We will be here to open bids when they come due. We will make a recommendation to you. And then we'll be the ones who draft the contract between the town and the contractor, the successful contractor. Your attorney will review this, but we're the original authors of that. And then we'll be there through construction, watching over everything, and making sure what's on the drawings, what's in the specifications is what happens, okay? So there are basic services, and then there's some alternate services, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail in terms of, you need us to do the basic services. We can do the alternate services if you want, or you can do those separately, and there are pros and cons to each way. So we typically will divide if you looked at page 2 of the proposal, we typically divide our fees into parts, into phases. The basic services include design, development, construction documents, bidding and negotiation, and construction administration. There is a narrative of what we're doing for each one of those phases. But we're using the basis of what we did for you before in the feasibility study. That was kind of the conceptual design. We're going to take that and we're going to develop it from there. One of the first things that we want to do, we did enough field measuring in this building to do the feasibility study, but I don't have the details to make it something that we can build from. Good example of that, I know that the structural system supporting the roof runs from that wall to this wall. I didn't measure the depth, right? And so it's things like that that we need to pick up as we go through. So there'll be some additional field work that we need to do just to make our documents as accurate as possible. On page 3, there is a listing of alternate services. There are 4 items here. There was a survey that was done a fair amount of time ago, and there's some things that have changed on site that's inaccurate. We would encourage you to get that done. That survey does not include the entire property either. It doesn't include all of the parking lot over here. And so our recommendation would be to get a new topographic survey that's of the entire parcel. And then we typically, and I don't know if we're going to need them or not, that's to be determined, we would typically want some soil borings, and that's referred to as the geotechnical services. The soil has a bearing capacity, okay, and we need that number to design the foundations. But you've had a building that's been here a long time, and frankly, it's in pretty good shape. It's not really that many cracks in it. So I need to talk to my structural engineer whether we need those or not, and we'll see. And then the third and fourth pieces are dealing with hazardous materials. And talking with Roxanne during the feasibility study, I don't think the building has ever had a survey done to see if there's any asbestos remaining or any lead paint. And typically the building official will want that information. It's good for them to know, but it's more important for the contractor to know as he's coming here and tearing things up if he's getting into any materials that are hazardous. And so the first part of it is testing it. You can work in the building while that testing is going on. Timmy's very familiar with this process. if there is something there, then we need an abatement plan developed, and so that's what those are. Those alternate services are things that we can do, we can get that done for you, or you can do it yourself. And it's just a matter if you want me to coordinate it or not. It would be cheaper for you to do it separately than me, because if I do it, I have to pay taxes on it. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. So it's really up to you. If you look at the separate document that's here, that's the cost estimate. This was the cost estimate that I produced when I did the feasibility study. And so the first part of that is dealing with the cost, the probable cost of construction. And you can see all the line items, and it totals to $1.6 million and some change. And then the other costs that are associated there, the first one is architectural and engineering services. I estimated $131,000 and roughly. And if you look at our fee proposal, it comes to about $132,000. So how do I go about developing cost estimates? So we have a program in our office that we use, and we look at what it takes for us to produce a set of documents in 3 different ways. We'll typically have more than one person look at that. So we're developing the cost of the architectural services. We hire structural engineers, and we hire mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers to do that portion of the work. So in order to get a competitive fee for you, what I have done is I have gone to multiple companies to get fees for them for that engineering portion. And I saved you about $20,000 to give you some idea by going through that process. I've also talked to, like, in terms of the topographic survey, I've talked to 2 different companies about what the cost of the survey would be. So I've tried to get multiple prices for you as you move along. But this is pretty telling, this is pretty accurate in terms of what the final proposal ends up being. I can respond to any questions that you have after I finish on that if you want. So, not included in the proposal, but the email I sent to Terry was also talking about schedule. And so the feasibility study talked about 5 months to do the documents, and then we have to bid it. And the bidding is dependent on how quickly y'all can approve something, depending on your schedule to meet. And then construction would be 8 to 10 months, okay? So, you know, I realize y'all have a lot going on with your schedule and everything, which is fine. I know it's the time we're working on budgets as well. The only thing I would tell you about the schedule that would be important is ideally we would like to start construction no later than October 1. Okay? So today is the 12th of February. Think about it, 5 months to design it, get it out for bids, and go from there. And you say, why October 1? Well, one of the first things we want to do after y'all move out, and that means y'all would have to move out by then, is we're going to start tearing up this ramp over here. We're going to start digging foundations for the addition here, the foundation over here. We want to get the foundations in before cold weather sets in, because if it's weather like this, we just have a mucky mess, and it's just going to delay the project for you. So that would be the only thing in terms of schedule that's critical for you. So what would the town's responsibility be during this process? The first one would be relocating the offices or whatever you have here. I know Terry and Kim have been working on that. Any new furniture, if you want to change your AV systems, that would be your responsibility. That'll be things that we'll coordinate with you. So if you're going to have TVs, monitors in your new council chambers, or you need electrical outlets or data jacks, we'll coordinate all that with you. What we will provide is the pathway, the conduit from point A to point B, and the box. Your responsibility will be pulling the wire and putting the actual outlet in there and terminating that wiring. And the reason for that, most localities have a vendor that does that, and I think you'd probably rather work with your vendor than have somebody else do it, and that's kind of the reason. So those are kind of the things. To kind of give you some feel of where the state of the industry is in terms of contractors and construction cost, I think every general contractor I've talked to and when I say general contractor, we're talking about Jamerson Lewis, Coleman Adams, Glass Construction, people like that, Blair Construction, they're not associated with me. They're all busy. But what I'm hearing is the subcontractors, the electrical subcontractor, the flooring subcontractor, they're beginning to need work, okay? And instead of them waiting for a contractor to call them, a general contractor to call them, they're actually calling the general contractors to saying, hey, is there anything I can bid? So I think the timing is good for you. Am I still concerned about where cost is and everything? The answer is yes, because we never know where a cost increase may come. Appomattox Glass is doing a project for us in Lynchburg, and I talked to them the other day, and they haven't had a cost increase since the beginning of the year, which is good, and they don't expect to have one, but you just never know. And so I think we saw prices really escalate. I think they flattened pretty well, but they will still go up because we still will pay people, salary increases and things like that. There are some opportunities for you if you wanted to, and we kind of have to work through the details of this, is to pre-order some equipment. So it is still taking a long time to get some electrical gear. It's possible that you could buy that yourself. We could tell you what you need, you purchase it, and you have it ready for somebody. The advantage of that is it cuts down on time. It also would save the markup from the general contractor. He's not purchasing it. He's not paying taxes on it. There's some things like that we could do. We could do it on the HVAC equipment. We could do it maybe even on the elevator. So there's some things like that we could do. We would have to work through those details, but there are things that the town could buy directly that the contractor would install. So what are the next steps for you? Obviously, we've given you a proposal, so it's kind of where that stands right now. Once that's done, we would want a committee to work with. And we think that committee should be a couple people from town council. We include town staff. We need people to answer questions, kind of during the course of this. That's not to say that if you're not, Claudia, if you're not on there, it's not like you're going to be in the dark. I'm more than happy to come, monthly and kind of give you an update. Part of this process is selecting colors, right? And I would think, y'all may want to have, some say-so in that. So I think there are points in time where it's important for y'all as a group to have feedback, but we would need a committee to work with on a day-to-day basis. I would really like to get the topographic survey done ASAP because that defines some things on the outside of the building. I want to get our initial field work done as soon as possible. And then once we have that, the clock's on us and we're up and running. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Blair, if we got started, say, let's just pick March, when would we expect completion and being able to move back?
So let's pick March 15th here is a start date for me, right? So it's 5 months for me, so that's March, April, May, June, July. So you're probably bidding the project in August, something like that. Say it takes 2 months to get it under contract by the time you get the bids in and you all accept it, right? So now you're looking at, that October timeframe,
1st
right?
that you need.
Right. And so then you're adding 10 months to that, so you're looking at, you'd be moving late summer of '25.
So from clear lot, if you had just a blank slate of land and you needed to build a 6,500 square foot building, right now I'm looking at basically $350, $360 a square foot for renovation of this building. What would a new building, what range per square foot would a new building?
400 plus the cost of developing the site. And so that's the biggest advantage you have here is you're not developing the site. And I don't know what the site is,
Sure.
so you don't know what that development cost would be.
Sure.
So it's going to be 400 plus that. I would say $500 to $600 square foot.
Okay, let's go.
And what should we budget So if we do move forward with the elevator, what does annual maintenance, and then is there a 10-year rebuild maintenance or something, some major cost associated with it?
I'd have to get you that information. It's inspected yearly, and I mean, we have one at my church. I can't imagine it's a big price to do that inspection, but I don't know. Is it?
It's $4,000-5,000 to have a service contract a year, and it only includes small things. They excluded a lot of things, so I know one location had the hydraulic shafts was leaking, cost them $14,000. And 2 years later, they had to do it again. So it's a astronomical cost.
Now, he's talking about having a service contract, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't have a service contract, but you're not required by law to have a service contract. You only have to have it inspected.
In your, the way that you design the floor plan and how you imagine workers and members of the general public, whoever that comes here, how they would use the building, do you think that an elevator is necessary for that kind of flow that you designed?
This stair scares me. I mean, to be honest with you. If you're gonna be using it as occupiable space in the basement, which it sounds like, we're talking about, I think you'd be really foolish not to have one. I think you got a liability with the stair. And liability is far more bigger hit financially for you than anything else.
Also, handicapped accessibility, I would think would be.
I mean, theoretically,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
handicap accessible because you could go around if you wanted to, but would you want to do it in the rain?
Probably not.
No.
I guess it's more for the council than it is for Blair, but are we ready to pull the trigger on $2.5 million project?
A lot of the people's money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but I also think it's cheaper than it's ever gonna be.
I wouldn't doubt that, but
And it would put our
Considering-
building into the 21st century.
I'm just bringing that up because we,
Right.
as a council, agreed to spend $2.5 million.
And then I think of people like, oh, I'm just saying this. Okay, you spent all that money on that, but then we got other things that need to be fixed. And, you could start at the sidewalks. You know what I'm saying? I just think what the community may kick back with, you agree to spend that and maybe, I just think we'd have to be ready for those challenges or comments or.
Would you be interested in hearing the use of this building currently?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question. as
Yeah.
council.
And
Think about.
what we've been doing is trying to get accurate numbers on this. 6 employees use this building a day, and we average 35 customers a day. That's somebody coming in from out. So that's 700 people a month. Public meetings bring in 10 people an event, or 40 people a month. So the average use in a day is 45 people a day and 850 a month. The customers that come in, we broke them up into 2 groups. Those that spend 30 minutes or less, and those that spend more than 30 minutes. It's 600 that spend 30 or less, and 100 that spend more than 30 minutes in the building. Stair climbing. Main entry, this is just, people who are coming in. There are 900 steps a day coming in. The employees average 6 round trips a day, up and down. That's 264 steps. The monthly use for employees spend 1,100 hours in the building. Customers spend 400 hours. Public meetings is 40. So the building is in use about 1,500 hours in a month. Just to kind of give you some perspective, in the building, the public travels 3.5 miles a month on the stairs, and the staff travels 1 mile a month on the stairs. Let's see. So annually, employees come in and out of the building 1,400 times, customers 8,400. Each month, about 100 people are new, so it's not always the same 700 people. Public meetings are 120 visits. So, that combined is about 10,000 visits a year. And I've got this, if you'd like, I can provide that to you.
Well, I would also say the ARPA funding, we've got that window where it's gotta be used or sent back. And it won't cover quite all of this. But I feel that we certainly have the funds in reserve that we could use for this. And it would put our building in this position to where it will go a long time before anything else would have to be done. And make it in good shape for everybody, all these folks that have to come and go.
Well, the good thing is we have a rough number. I mean, is the confidence on this probably a plus or minus 10%? So we know it's gonna be in this range. Maybe we take the next, 2 weeks, we all think about it independently and we could talk about it at our next meeting. Because, I mean, I'm certainly not ready to say one way or the other.
Yeah, it's a good
Well, we
idea.
do need to think about it a bit, but, we're also under those time constraints on using this ARPA funding, so.
Yeah.
And being on that committee, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just driving that in too.
I think
Yes.
having those statistics too are great to have and to be able to spit that back. That's nice.
And it's a lot of use.
Yeah,
It's more than I thought, actually.
right.
Larry, is there anything in here that addresses any kind of security concerns?
Like, give me an example of a security concern for you.
Like bulletproof glass?
Not if we had to lock down real quick.
So a lot of times, that's basically done by electronic door hardware. We can include that in there, that level of detail, we're not at yet, but we certainly can do that. And that's, there are other things that we do, like you could bid a project with just kind of the bare bones, and then let's say we want 4 doors to be, have electronic locks, that you can do that, we can do that so you get an alternate price, and basically it's an additive price to do it. That's what we've been doing a lot with our clients, trying to help them control costs, and when the market has gone so crazy, is if we can kind of have the bare bones, and, Nathan, you mentioned the elevator. We could do with the elevator as an additive alternate, if you wanted to see where some of the prices kind of worked out. So, yeah, that would be part of the discussions as we be moving through.
And my thought process being, not all meetings are friendly,
No.
and not all attendees are friendly.
I think, should you have security cameras on the building, both inside and outside, I think it's good to protect the building, but also the occupants of the building. I think you need all of those things. Yeah.
That's a good point, Jim.
Yeah.
Well,
I have seen the day when we did need things.
yeah,
And there's some other life safety issues that need to be addressed as well. Fire alarm system, I'm not sure what's currently in here. I don't know what's necessary. I know we, excuse me, I know we just upgraded ours at my place of work. We've upgraded our access control to card access. We upgraded our security cameras. The corporation put a lot of money into all that, but you're protecting valuable assets of the personnel inside.
I think it's scary what happened at that church in Houston that happened over the weekend. What happened down there, I mean, it's crazy. That's just the world we live in. And
It would be nice to lock that door to the ladies back there, you know what I mean, to have a security.
It is locked.
I mean, like what Mr. Boyce was saying,
To
enforce it, or like,
to reinforce it,
yeah, reinforce
basically.
it.
yeah. Well, all of those are good additions, but my thought hasn't changed at all about the project itself. I think that this is 2024, and for years this building has sat here, and I won't say moldered, but it's not, nothing about it is modern. And as you pointed out, so many things. but like the HVAC system is for a home. And a lot of times in the summer, the HVAC breaks and we've got to call Jared or somebody to come fix it numerous times during the summer when it's so hot. That was just happened this last summer. And I think things like that, we're not presenting a good picture forward. I realized 2,337,000, etc. That's a lot of money. I get that. But if we want to do it and have a better, more modern building, and I think moving and buying a piece of land, as you're saying, and starting from scratch, it's going to cost us more. And we talked about that in our discussions previously. This is where the town office is. This is where people are familiar with. And I think if we can cut a few corners, that would be good. But I don't think we should shave it that close. I think we need an elevator. I know I don't want to go up and down those steps several times a day, and we should not expect our employees to have to do that. I just think to me, there's not very much about this that's a really bad idea. I think this is a good idea to do this. And it's good that we're going to give ourselves 2 weeks to think about it, but I'm all for it.
From a contracting perspective, what is our next engagement? Is it 100% full steam ahead, or is it just bite off the other piece of engaging you to make a set of plans?
Yeah, it's just engaging me. I mean, if you've got to the point that you said, we're working along and we're done, you say, things have changed, I don't want to bid it. We quit the contract there, so, but right now you're only biting off the first piece, yeah.
Sure. And what's the fee on that?
132.
Okay. So we would be committed for the full estimated 8% cost of construction.
The 132. I'm giving you a lump sum.
Okay.
And a comment about the sidewalks. Jane, we've always, and we did many improvements. If Mr. Elder were here, we have done so many improvements with sidewalks.
Oh, I know.
And we still get complaints.
Right.
And I think if we tore up every road and put sidewalks everywhere, we'd still get complaints.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know. I
and
know
so
that, but
there's
I just
always
know
going to be complaints.
There's always going to be a complaint coming in.
Always. And I mean, but I'm not saying they're not important, because we want to listen to our
Gotcha.
residents and our business owners, but at the same time, we
But
can't be afraid
yeah,
of that.
right. If you can say all the steps and all the people that come here versus the people that walk on the sidewalk, I get what you're saying.
Well, we'll get to the sidewalk eventually, make some more improvements, but,
I think in 10 years from now, whomever's sitting here would be grateful that we did this. Because the older this building gets, the more repairs it's gonna need, the more upkeep it's gonna need. And there's gonna come a point where there's gonna be a break-even place where if we just go on and bite the bullet and fix it, would save us some money.
in the long run,
And I think with the money with this ARPA funding,
with the ARPA.
there's only certain things we can use with it, but this happens to be one of them. And, excuse me. And because of that, we would have something to show for it that our community could enjoy, excuse me, and use for a long time to come.
Hypothetically, how long will these improvements make this building last? 50 years, 20 years, 25?
Well, I mean,
Barring a natural disaster.
right, your heating and cooling systems are, you're gonna have to replace that equipment. I mean, they don't make them like they used to. I mean, there is a cost to owning a building. It's just like
Yeah.
if you do nothing now, you'll be replacing those anyway. But, you're trying to design buildings at 50-year increments. Now, the carpet's not gonna last 50 years, but you're trying the guts of it, the bones of it, is what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate what you've done thus far for us.
No problem.
Thank you. Lots of information.
Have any other questions, just let me know through Terry. We'll go back to you.
Thank you so much.
Would
Thank you, Mr.
regular
Smith.
residential construction costs be as high as what you were telling us tonight?
Residential? We don't do residential work, so I don't have a baseline to really judge you on. I would tell you if, my wife came to me tonight and said, hey, let's go build a new house, I wouldn't want to do it.
You strangle her.
Well, this is immaterial, but when I first started in the real estate business, it was about $45 a square foot to build residential property. And I was just curious, since I had you, I thought maybe I could, you could tell me what it might be today.
I mean, you in the residential world, you have more variety in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And so you can build a spec house for one thing.
Right.
Would you
Right.
build a single-family house for a family that's a middle income person for that price? And the answer is no. And one's gonna last longer and one's not. I mean, I would, if I was doing a house, I would budget a couple $100 a square foot.
And that's what I had been told by somebody. I didn't know whether they knew what they were talking about or not. So you're on, yeah. Okay.
We do multifamily stuff, and that's so much repetition in apartments. And it's not high quality either, based
That's
on
right.
the use of it. Those things are probably in the neighborhood of, $130 a square foot. But the advantage you have is you have just, it's so much repetition, it's such a low quality, and you have quantity. You're putting an elevator in for 100 units versus, a building of this size, so it gets spread out.
Well, just thank you. I was just curious. I didn't mean to take everybody's time. I was just curious what that was now.
I wouldn't want to build a house today.
I get it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
we will
Smith.
be back with you.
Next item is the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be approved or received by one motion in the form listed. Items may be removed from the consent agenda for discussion under the regular agenda upon motion of any council member and duly seconded. Items are the January 8th, 2024 regular meeting and the January 23rd, 2024 workshop minutes. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Is there any unfinished business come before the council at this time? Okay. Moving on to new business. Consideration to appoint individuals to the Town of Appomattox Economic Development Authority.
We have 2 seats available on the EDA, and we're kind of in a good position because we have 3 applicants. The 2 seats that are available, there's 1 vacancy and there's 1 unexpired term. So the only thing we have to go by here is the town code says that they are to be appointed by the town council. So it's at your discretion. If you want to take a few minutes and look at the 3 applications that you received. And then if one catches your eye, we need a motion for that person to be appointed, and then we need a second, and then we'll vote on it. So we have 2 that we need to appoint.
And then one of them a partial.
One of them would be for
Expired.
the vacancy, which would be for the full term, and then one would be for the unexpired term, which would end on December 31st of '26.
And it's a 4-year term, right?
Yes.
So should we do the first
So do we
one?
do them one at a time? Like, do we do the
What-
December one first and then the
Well, the vacancy, that became available first, so we would need to fill that first. And I spoke with Roxanne about this because she said it's never really happened that we've had 3 applicants and 2 seats. So what we would do is, once we get a motion and a second for 2 people, then I would look at the order that we received the applications, and the first person to apply would get
Okay.
the vacancy because that came open first,
Okay.
if you're all in agreement with that.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for Kaylee and Donna.
Excuse me, just a minute, point of order. Now, I want to clear up what you just said there.
Okay.
We're not saying that the first person to put in the first application would get the first seat.
No, what we're saying, so if you appoint, you're gonna appoint 2 people tonight, and then I will look at the order I received, those 2 applications. And the first person to apply out of those 2 would get the vacancy. The second person to apply out of those 2 would get the unexpired term.
Could it not just be specified in the motion made?
That's fine, I mean, it's entirely up to the council
the
how they do
person-
it.
The person
Um,
making the appointment should specify for which term they're making the appointment.
That's fine, if that's the way you
That'd
wanna do
probably
it.
be clearer.
Okay.
Well, since I kind of opened that up, let's appoint Kaylee for the full one and Donna for the partial.
All right, so you're making a motion for Kaylee for the full vacancy.
Yes, and then Donna for the partial one.
Okay, so we would need a second for Kaylee,
Okay.
if I have a second. And if we don't have a second, then we have a motion for Donna. Do I have a second for Donna?
Yes, I'll second the motion for Donna.
Okay. All right, so then we would need a motion for someone else if I don't have a second for Kaylee.
I'll make the motion for Kelsey Moore.
Do I have a second for Kelsey?
Well, I mean, am I allowed to second it again?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I'll
Okay.
second that for Kelsey. And can I say something,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not that I don't think that you're totally capable of serving. But I think the public, because you're married to a seated councilman, the public perception may be that might not be a good idea. That's all my thinking is.
Mary Lou, do you forget every time we talk on the phone?
Excuse me?
Do you? Do you have a memory lapse that just completely has words enter one side of your head and leave the other when I speak?
Thank you for that
I
compliment.
asked you over the phone, I called you when Kaylee came to me after the last meeting. I called you and I asked, would there be an issue with this? I really appreciate your opinion and I
But
respect you.
Since
words
that
out of your
time,
mouth
I've had
were
time
no.
to think about it. That's all. I've had some time to think about it. Because that came at me all of a sudden, and I should have said, give me some time to think about it, and I didn't. So excuse me for not.
Okay, Mary Lou.
Okay, Nathan.
This time we have a motion made and properly seconded for Donna Preston to serve the unexpired term or the full term.
That, I don't believe that was
It
in
doesn't
the
matter.
motion, so we,
At this time, it wasn't. Okay, at this time, we have a motion on the floor for Donna Preston to serve on our EDA. Motion properly seconded. Any further discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. First motion carries. We have a second motion on the floor to have Kelsey Moore represent on the EDA, and it was properly seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries. And based on the previous discussion, Ms. Preston submitted her application on February the 6th, Ms. Moore on the 7th. So the first submitted is for the vacancy,
That's correct.
and the second one is for the 4-year term. Or is that?
That would be
Or
the-
the second one's for the unexpired term?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So that would be Kelsey.
Thank you for correcting my statement there. This time we'll ask that Ms. Torrance inform these individuals of their respective potential positions and make sure they're fully accepted. Is any other new business come before the council at this time?
I have one item for council to consider. It's an administrative issue. This came up because of the music festival. There is a portion of the town code that currently says that a fee is being paid to the county, and it really is it's just the wrong word. It should be the fee is paid to the town. And I need your vote and approval so that we can change the code on that. Frank asked that we address that pretty quickly.
So you're changing it from county to town.
From the county to the town. And this is all about fees that are paid in relation to music festivals. It's just part of the code. It's 50-13.
Has this just not happened in a while? That they had a,
I don't think we've done this in a very long time.
oh, okay. Because
We're
I just,
discovering all kinds of issues, and I'll address it more in my report, but I thought, just, he
Yeah,
said,
fix
get this
that.
done if we could.
Yeah, that was my comment. Has this been like this all along and we just
Yes.
overlooked it?
I'll entertain a motion to amend Section 50-13 permit fee refund/issuance to change the word to the county to the town.
This calls for any public hearing, anything changing the code? All right.
Motion by Jim.
I'll second it.
We have a second.
Second.
We have James, excuse me. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you.
Mayor Connor, we have someone here who wanted to speak during the citizen comment. I don't know if maybe you want to go ahead and allow her to speak before the closed session?
If you would, to the mic, 5 minutes, please introduce yourself. We'd like to have you at the mic so we can all hear. And so that it shows up on our show.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Hamlet Blackwell, and I'm the mayor of the town of Pamplin. And I just came tonight to introduce myself to those of you that may have not have met me, and meet those of you that I have not met. I think that, in the spirit of, just inter-community cooperation, I think that it's kind of good to put faces with names and names with faces, throughout the county. So that was really the totality of my reason for coming this evening, was again just to introduce myself and say hello. And, if you have any questions of me, I'd love to chat sometime. So that's it.
Thank you for coming
Thank you
out.
for coming so much.
Hope we can help you in any way we can in future endeavors. I'm a frequent visitor to your town, usually driving a school bus.
Well, I'm really, really excited about all of the developments and stuff that we've had. I've been mayor since 2020, and I was vice mayor for a little bit before that. And I'm just so excited with the trail, finally getting completed, later on next month. And, all of the businesses kind of, redeveloping on Main Street. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of exciting things down the pipeline, so.
Looks very good. Like I said, I get to, usually been about at least once a week or sometimes 5 days a week, but it's been very fortunate.
So which bus do you drive?
All of them. I'm a substitute school bus driver, so if somebody's out, I'll drive it. I've got,
I was gonna apologize in advance for my son then.
I have driven bus 19. It's easy to take care of them. All you gotta do is tell them you're lost and they'll all help you get where you need to go so they can go home.
So you know which bus?
Yes, ma'am, I
Bus
do.
ride bus 19.
I've driven that one a few times. Anyway, but that has been, I'll be in the promised land area tomorrow on a school bus.
Pretty easy to tell which one's my son. He looks exactly like me.
And I think it was last weekend, the wife and I went down and hit the ice cream parlor. So, does the mayor eat here? Yeah, okay. So, we're in good shape. Well, thank you for coming, and we'll do what we can to help y'all out.
Well, thank you.
And when are y'all's meetings?
They are usually the day after y'all, the second Tuesday.
Well, I'll see if I can make one of those.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
So
ma'am.
we meet at 5:30 tomorrow, and then next
You
month
know,
is this.
I work normally till 7 o'clock, so we'll see. You may
So-
see me on TV, though.
Second Tuesday at 5:30 normally.
Thank you, Mayor Blackwell. Appreciate you coming out. Alrighty. This time, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session for the assignment of specific public appointees, specifically being confirmation of appointee A's prior appointment and approval of the personnel report pursuant to Virginia's Code Section 2.2-3711A1. Entertain such a motion.
So moved, I
There's a second? Thank you, Ms. Puckett. By roll call vote, Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
guess. Yeah.
Ms. Puckett?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Spiegel?
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, we will proceed into closed session.
All right, to the best of each member's knowledge, the only subjects just discussed or considered in the preceding closed meeting were those lawfully exempted from the FOIA Act's open meeting requirements and properly identified in the motion that convened the closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A.
Need a motion to come out of the closed?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and properly seconded. Any discussion? By roll call vote, Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Ms. Puckett,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Ms. Spiegel.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, motion carries. Entertain a motion to accept the personnel report without amendment for Robert Fowler.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Is that appropriate? No roll call on that?
That's good.
Motion carries. Standing committee reports, ARPA. Anything?
What's the balance on that, Claudia, you remember, about 8?
1.1,
Huh?
1.1 million.
Okay.
Finance? Any report?
None on physical development.
We've already had our citizen comment. Appreciate it. Town manager's report.
He'll be back in a minute.
Give us a moment.
Oh, sorry. As I started, on the Planned Music Festival on the 15th of June, has been approved, for use in the park. But it still has to go through several, approvals, and there are about 7 of those. One of those is the town code requires a $15,000, basically it's a cleanup bond. You know, and they've got insurance, but the cleanup bond says you have to leave the park in the condition that you found it. And we were trying to figure out how do we do all that, because this is the first time we've done this in a while. And then Kim mentioned we don't own the park. So I called Frank today, and he said that could cause us some issues, but it's not our park. So I called Ann Dixon to let her know, you know, they've got a $300 deposit, but roughly, you know, that's, the 2,000 people is like 20% of the Railroad Festival. So,
We also, if may I interject?
yes, ma'am.
At our last festival foundation board, we discussed that issue, this very issue, that if there were damage, there might be more than $300 worth of damage to the festival park with that many people. And we also have a clause in the agreement when someone rents the park that they, at the bottom, the $300 security deposit is required, but it also has a statement in there that says that the person renting the park will be liable, and they have to sign it, will be liable for any damage over and above that amount, any damage. So that kind of captured that for us on the festival board.
So basically, I wanted y'all to know why we weren't doing a bond for the town.
Yeah.
Church Street water line, we have begun working with the businesses on Main and Church Street to make sure that they know and understand when water's coming in and when it's gonna be turned off. Some of you may see there's some large sheets over there. The project's been broken up into 6 pieces. 2 pieces before you get to the railroad tracks, and then there's an X piece, and that's the boring under the railroad tracks. And the reason it's an X is because we have to work with whatever time the Norfolk Southern, you know, whenever they say, that's whenever we have to do that boring. The streets, the Main Street will never close, so there's no point in time. That was one of several downtown businesses, they were a little concerned about that. So we're never gonna close Main Street. Harrell will stay open so that you can basically turn left. You know, once we get to boring, that's when the railroad crossing's gonna be closed, and that could be as much as a week, you know, at the crossing. So, Harrell will stay open, so you can turn left off of Main, and then you'll be able to go right on Harrell, either right or left on Harrell Street. I am meeting with a group of business people on Wednesday morning, just letting them know. Jeff is working out an actual schedule by the day that says what time water's gonna turn off, because even though Main Street, you know, has all the same vendors, the water lines run differently on Main Street, so they won't all be impacted at the same time. Just a major note as far as service, the fact that the water bills getting delivered really has just killed us with phone calls and visits. We have not had anything to disturb the, morning operations really as much as that particular item. And it's not unique to us, it's not unique to Virginia. Virginia congressmen and senators are pursuing this. North Carolina has the same issues. I just included in your little update, one of the EDA incentive titles, the EDA will be meeting this week, because we did get a call from Central, and they are still very interested. And so I think we really have a good start on trying to come up with some practical incentives for urgent care.
So we talking about items like how many employees they got and like
Yes, sir.
like we give supposed to be for the
Right,
Thomasville
like
building.
one of the more recent things that we just came up with is kind of a rebate on whatever lease terms. We have calls to both Rosemeyer Corporation and Triangle to get quotes for between 2,500 and 3,500 square feet at both locations. Jeff is working on the Lee Grant Smart Scale project. The scoring has changed this year. We probably are going to be more competitive than we have been in the past. I did get a call from one property owner, and he said that he will oppose any property acquisition on that. He just wanted to make sure council was aware of that.
For Lee Grant,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
The Appomattox Tourism Commission agreed to consolidate the historic Appomattox.com and Experience Appomattox websites. Y'all had previously approved $3,000 for that. The quote that came back is $5,700. That we still have, can cover that in our budget, so if that's okay with y'all, we'll go ahead and accept moving that site over. I feel like it'll pay for itself in the advertising. Any questions about that?
Do we need to vote on that? Is it increase of $2,000?
It's within the approved budget.
Okay.
So, you had already, Nathan had requested $3,000 for that back several months ago. And so, we still have funds in the advertising budget to cover, so it doesn't go over the budget. Okay. All right. We are working with a couple of downtown businesses on the school and the internship program. They tend to meet quarterly, but in talking with Dana, Dana Mayberry, she is willing to try and do something sooner than quarterly, and that will really help them out and get that program off the ground. We are getting lots and lots of wastewater plant position recruits for Jerome's position, but right now we're not getting really good quality candidates.
Where have you all advertised that position?
Right now, our primary advertising is on the town website and on Indeed.
On
But
Indeed?
we're getting 10 and 12 applicants a day on Indeed.
Wow.
And they're local,
Yeah.
not like they're from Norwood, they're all predominantly local. VDOT is also holding up on the Outdoor Music Festival, they have not approved a traffic plan for that.
Wow.
That's everything I have.
Looking at the music festival and the 15K bond,
What's that?
I know that's not our property, but we provide certain services to that property. And that still requires to require that 15K bond or not? That's
What
something
other
we just
service do we provide except for water?
Water and sewer, I think.
do trash pickup.
Yeah, well, the bond would have to be to the owner,
Oh, okay. So,
and that's where we think we would run into, that's Frank advised that.
okay. So it was
Okay.
at Abbott Park, we would have a say in that,
Right.
but it's not for one of our other facilities.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Alrighty. All right. Council comment. Ms. Allen.
Has there been any updates on the playground equipment or?
I have not, the individual from Lynchburg has asked to meet with me, and I did not call him back, so that's
Okay.
on me.
Okay, I was just wondering about that, but other than that, I've got nothing.
Mr. Boyce.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Church Street Waterline Project. I was driving home last night trying to gather some thoughts and fell into what I thought was the Grand Canyon.
Yep.
Now, I realize they can't put asphalt in, but they've got to do something. And the margins in between the asphalt and the rock surface or whatever, eventually they're gonna start having people with these low-profile tires, they're gonna have rim damage. You're gonna get front-end damage from falling into these chuck holes. And I just seem like to be a little bit more diligent to, try to leave us at least a halfway workable surface. Because some of these ruts and valleys that they have, you get a soft sidewall tire like a Michelin, it could very well cut into it. So in the process of making progress, we're making danger spots. And I sure don't wanna fall into another one of them chuck holes. 'Cause my whole train of thought just went to, Church Street Waterline, yeah, okay.
Terry, is
They
VDOT managing that far as what he's talking about?
Yes, sir. The rock that was used, did not pass the compression test.
Oh, I know. That Dodge compressed it pretty
Well,
good last night.
And literally what that means is that we're gonna redig 2 feet of that back up. And it has to do with the amount of moisture that was in the rock. And then the issue has been finding rock that didn't have high levels of moisture into it. And Jeff had some on the lot, that we have literally used some of our own and just trading it out, which gave us, some to help those Grand Canyon holes.
And that's understandable with the rains that we've had, everything is naturally saturated. And Great House Road is a mess. I mean, just,
Church Street's getting ready to be one.
Church Street getting ready to be one, yes, sir.
Well, we know what to look for now. I mean, and not catching that before it was installed was a big deal.
Is Hurting Profit overseeing that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Spiegel.
I don't have anything right now.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Garrett. Mr. Simpson.
Just a few things. Terry, the security cameras at the train depot, how is that going?
Tori is trying to get together with the school
Okay,
person to make the same kind of purchase, so we have all the same cameras, and it's so that we can index the what used to be called the tape.
uh-huh,
That way, she doesn't have to look through, 36 hours of something to find what happened.
gotcha.
So, yes, sir, we're moving on.
What do you, that's what I'm asking you, do you think we should
I'm
get a
not in favor
vendor?
of a cloud-based camera system, period. Just for the fact that people can hack it, and not that we hide nothing, but it's just, you don't have control over your video. And this software, there are other packages that you can get that will keep you from having to search for 2 days to look for something.
It might make sense for us to look for a vendor.
You gonna be, if you miss payment on one camera registration after 3 years, they shut all of them off. So we got 200-300 at the school, and if when we wanna get rid of it, you gonna lose everything you got by one registration that ain't paid.
Okay.
And to me, it's a lot of negatives that I can talk to you about off camera.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'd lean on your experience, because you've actually done it before, Timmy, so it would probably be good to flesh that out. The trash truck, I told Terry and Claudia late last week that, and so at a meeting with them, but in conversation, I caught the trash truck Friday morning at, well, no, it was 3:55 a.m., 4 o'clock. And I finally figured out what they're doing. They're not picking up town trash cans, but they're dumping commercial dumpsters. And I won't mention where they were dumping at that point, but it was nearby my house, and they're doing dumpster loads. That's not compliant with the current county code, and by definition of that code, we lean into it. We use their code section. So what are your thoughts on, should we ask the county to enforce that, or?
I think that's the first step.
Because it's their code section, so it would make sense
We're
there.
going to add it to ours if we want.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, I think our code
Even though
section
it's
for
in
that
the-
is,
It's in the town, so we're gonna have to put it in our code.
yeah. I had heard that there was Firefly coming to town residents.
I actually got a call from the Firefly CEO, and he said, in the next 6 months, this was a call I got back in December. And he said, and they're doing it on their own, they're not using any kind of government funding, so they can go basically anywhere they want.
So hopefully by the middle of the year, we'll start.
He usually calls me a couple of times a year, but he was excited to say,
Is this an extension of what we allowed Dominion to go ahead and put in the trunk lines?
it doesn't, he can go anywhere he wants to.
I understand that.
How's the franchise? Because in the past, Chantel come before us to get a franchise agreement to serve town customers. Why don't Firefly have to have that same thing?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm just, because I remember even Verizon, different vendors.
Right. I'm not absolutely sure, but I think they apply as a telco supplier with the Commonwealth.
Huh.
And that,
Things may have changed from where they used to be.
It might have to do with the rights of way that they're using too, if they already have access to it. So I guess the next, embarking from town business and productive things, the next section is more of, I'm not lambasting, I'm not being hateful, I'm more so looking for answers. And it's asking questions that I may not get an answer to, and there may not be an answer to. But in the past 2 weeks since the last meeting, I've developed some, I guess, hesitation or concern with how a certain group, is how it was presented to me, feels that I have been on council. In conversation, I was compared, which I don't really know what this means, but I was compared to being the next Paul Harvey. I was told that I was living in the pocket of the county administrator. I was told things that I just didn't understand, and I don't know why they were brought up and why there was that, why it needed to be said. Mr. Boyce, I do want to apologize directly to you in that after something that I sent out, I didn't call you directly. You're the only one that I didn't. You weren't at the last meeting, and I got so caught up in the response to what I sent out, I figured it would be a lot to explain, and I'm very sorry for not reaching out to you directly. I should have. Some of the other folks I couldn't get in touch with, which is odd to not hear. I'm used to talking to you guys and speaking with you openly. We text throughout the week. We'll have phone calls throughout the week, and I really thought that we had a good working relationship. Maybe not. So I don't know exactly. And Claudia and I did meet. We discussed some of this, and I thought that that we were fine, but I still think we need to talk through a little bit.
Okay.
I guess if I've done anything to give an appearance that I'm negotiating on behalf of the town without permission from the rest of council, or even further, that I'm negotiating against the town as a double agent or an insider or whatever you might consider me to be, there's no basis in that at all. I love the town. I'm a product of the town. Timmy, one of the things that's so hard in this is that you were my first introduction to the town. My business exists because of you, Timmy, and that you got me into government contracting. Thank you. And I'm a product of this town. The decisions that I've made to communicate with people are just in an effort to build streams of communication. I don't think that communicating can hurt as long as you're not agreeing to things that you shouldn't be agreeing to or committing to things that you shouldn't be committing to. So that's one piece of it. If I have given the appearance that I'm working against the town, I apologize. I'm just very disappointed that if these thoughts existed for a long time, why wasn't it brought up to me? And then why wasn't the communication, I guess, more free-flowing? I'm always available. You can call me at 11 o'clock at night and I'll answer. Just please feel free to reach out if I ever do something that you guys don't understand why I did it. Just ask the question as opposed to,
Speculate.
not communicating.
Don't
or
speculate. Communicate.
And some of the things that were said were completely unbased and unfounded and hurtful, but we'll move beyond that. The next thing is that yes, Kaylee is my wife. I believe this or not, I had nothing to do with her wanting to join the town EDA. She has always had an interest in government. She was involved in college Republicans at UVA. She graduated from UVA with a finance degree from their comm school. She served as president or vice president of a 300,000 member student organization focused on career and technical education. And I say all of this not to sing her praises, but it's more to give background as to why she thought she could be a good member of the town EDA. She attended the last EDA meeting, noticed there was a discussion about career and technical education and internship opportunities, and she, for lack of a better term, she realized that no one else in the EDA really had a background in education. No one knew what was going on really in the schools at an intimate level, and she does. She has had lunch with the U.S. Secretary of Education. She has done pretty much anything to do with career and technical education. She's been at the meeting. She's done it. She understands it. She knows where the money is. She knows how you can identify and build programs in schools. She would have been an extreme asset in building an internship or apprenticeship program, and I'm disappointed for the town's sake that she's not able to participate in that.
that aside, if you know, if that's the will of council, that's the will of council. But the justification for that was brought up is bothering in a couple of ways. One is that, Mary Lou, I did call you, and I know people can change their mind, but it seems to me that your opinion changed when you realized your grandson didn't want to join the EDA.
Oh my goodness, Nathan,
Hey,
I
hold-
can't believe you're saying
hold
that.
on.
You had said that I would love to have Wade on the EDA. He is, and I agreed with you. I think that Wade would be an extreme asset to our EDA. I'm all about getting young people into government service. He's a loan broker. That's a good person to have on your EDA. I asked you, I said, Mary Lou, do you have any issue with this? I know that, you know, I respect your long history in understanding the town, and, you know, you and Ronnie had a complex relationship in local government.
I don't
can
think it's
learn-
appropriate for you to talk about
I can
my
learn a lot from
relationship with
that.
my ex-husband
I can
on
learn-
council in the middle of a
Mary
meeting.
Lou, there's a lot that's
Please
inappropriate that
stop.
you bring up. No, ma'am. So it's just bothering in that way. And there, if you look at conflict of interest in economic development authorities, what you would say is that if the conflict of interest arises because someone's married to a member of council, truly then a member of council shouldn't even be on that EDA. EDAs exist as a function of, or an extension of Virginia local government so that they can offer incentives and other things to businesses that would really be improper for a local government to do and would create conflicts of interest as a council member or a county board member. Appomattox County, last time I checked, they do not have a member of their board on their EDA, and that's intentional. So, you know, if it's pick which line of question or pick which line of reasoning you want. She wasn't voted on, that's fine, but just understand, I guess, why and pick a reason. Don't talk out of both sides. And the other bothering thing, Claudia, I'm very sorry but after the vote, you looked at me and said, obviously she was she's very qualified.
I will sit here and say she's
Right.
very qualified for it.
Right, and that you did not have time to read
Well, I
the
hadn't.
application, and it was, I'm sorry
That's
that
my
it went
first
that
I
way.
saw
Right,
it.
right, so the whole process just does not sit right with me, and I hope that you can understand why. I don't think I'm being extremely unreasonable or, you know, going out of my way to cause an issue here, but regardless of what you think of me or how I handle myself on council, I hope everyone here can agree that that was a very interesting way to approach that, and a very interesting justification for it. All this to say that my heart is with the town. We have a lot of big issues that we have to deal with that impact my grandchildren's generation. Will be dealing with the decisions that we make about the water line, about countless things. We have to work together. We have to be able to communicate. And we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt that we're not working against each other. And if I've done something to indicate that I'm working against anyone, let me know. Tell me now. What I don't know what I've done other than produce work product that actually goes into use, that actually serves purpose. I work, you know, hours every week on actual things that we end up using or end up implementing. So I say that, again, with respect to all of you, and I pose it just as a question. Thank you.
I would like to interject one thing about your statement that no one on the EDA has any knowledge about education. Our EDA chairman is Dr. Jeffrey Garrett, and he is an administrator in public schools. Right now, he holds the
Yes.
position of...
Yes.
Yeah.
He has
so
a doctorate in education.
Right,
yes.
you forgot about that.
Ms. Puckett.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. And as I said, I reserved my mayor's comments. I think we're moving forward. We get the handle on the projects. try to do our best to move the town forward, help our community, not just ourselves. I do want to commend Mr. Simpson on the potential agenda. I think those are good items. They are ones that are pertinent to the town and the county. And I would hope if we do have a cooperative meeting with the town and the county, the town of Appomattox and the county, that if Pamplin would be encouraged to attend as well. And with that,
Make a motion to adjourn.
My second.
motion made, properly seconded for adjournment. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.